So we rejoined the game at round 4 of the 29th Singapore Open, playing as white. Opponent is 57C, who is actually a China player. So let's see how the game goes. The opening has started off with Tiger Many Blacks. More recently, I've been playing a lot of maybe a bit of Taminori. So let's see how that plays out. So this is just the usual Taminori book opening. So based on the speed that he's playing, I would say that he's fairly well versed in the opening. So this is a bit out of the ordinary in terms of the move. So probably a little bit of thinking required here. So I'm thinking maybe white could go here, just a simple quiet move. But black could then play, because of this being a continuous white row, black could then play quiet moves towards g5 or g6. So another option would be for white to play either e2 or f2, or maybe even the strong regroup f3 move, and maybe even g3 here. So quite a few options for white at the moment. So one of the ways we could probably choose to discern between moves is to just retain this black square so that it continues to poison this move for black, in a sense, and maybe just go towards here. But if we make the continuation move, we need to imagine at least 3 moves. So maybe white, black, and then what does white do next? So white, black, white doesn't have a nice move to follow up, so that's not too great. Probably white and then black, and then maybe white would be an option for white to just hit towards white, black, white, and then white has one more move here, which cannot really be prevented because black wouldn't take the X square and remove this to white, this that creates that excess. So white, black, and then white can still continue over here. So weighing between this move and maybe let's say this move, probably slight preference to play this move because this consolidates a fixed shape towards the left that allows black to control play. So maybe keeping the game complex, I would still go for f2 over here. So black has played a nice quiet move here. So a centralizing move almost immediately jumps to attention over here, but if white were to go here, black may cut through and then followed by white perhaps. Or another way is to just retain into the center 16 discs, which is also somewhat valued for Japanese players when they consider centralizing moves, even though it may be flipping multiple discs in different directions. So over here, black has played a quiet move. The next move that he wants to play is obviously this move to just regroup back here. So another way would be to think about preventing that move by playing this, or this. So that would also be an option to consider. So how do you sort of formulate a plan? Let's say if you were to want to prevent this move from happening, how do you formulate a plan which move to actually choose? If you were to play this move, you need to be wary of this being a quiet move if you remove this black disc in the future. So it's generally more risky to play such a move. Playing to the edge, in general, usually we select probably a diagonal cut this way instead of a vertical cut because you don't want to poison moves over here. But since this square is occupied, you can then consider this, or maybe even this move. So I think considering what the opponent is trying to achieve, maybe playing this move would be better to allow him to extend, and this whole center row of this would then potentially poison the future discs that he plays towards the left bottom and also the right top. So, and of course there's this option to poison. So I think definitely this move at this point in time. So let's see how black responds. So if black were to take this, yes, so this becomes strong. Even though if he makes moves to the left or the right, there would still be somewhat a few moves for me to play in continuation. So right now I do realize that even if I played to f3, this is a quiet move for for black as well. So let's go with white, black, and then maybe white here to try to continue that move and that direction. And if black were to go here, white could still regroup back over here and see whether white can still retain the center shape and just try to lead black over. So while black is just trying to remove the excess of white towards the top and the right, I'm trying to lead black to the left and just try to control that mobility. Okay, so as expected, he plays this. So this might be a response to just continue to maintain that center shape across. And if he plays this in response, maybe I can jump in here and then he would follow up with this, and then I'll just keep to my side of the space and still retain the center to this that will create future access over here, assuming his goal is to actually create a quiet move to a3 in the future. At least I still have one disc that is sandwiched in between that retains that access. So another variation another sequence that might follow is for him to just jump right into the center, and then I'll just take this edge. Okay, so he's taken this move. We'll just capture the center, because if I don't, he takes this move and he takes this move, and I lose 2 tempo. So I just have to jump in over here. And probably he could choose to actually preserve this move and play somewhere else first. But okay, so in this case, he's elected to actually take that move first. So this shape actually slightly favors white, because in the future I can play a move like this and still not be afraid of giving up the corner, as I can take the inner discs between the corner and this C1 disc. So what I want to do is just to figure out whether I have enough moves to just try to force black to come over to the left hand side, or will I actually be forced to the right hand side and create moves for him. So if I were to play white here right now, he will probably jump in here, and then I will go here, and then this entire diagonal becomes white, and this is a potential good move for black if I didn't have access back into the A4 disc. So since I have it, it might be still okay for me to actually consider that approach. So now there is just looking at the board right now, this is actually a 7 square odd region with only one bad way to access it for white at the moment. So if black were to exhaust my moves to the left, to the right and also the bottom, it would become quite a difficult situation for me to actually play. So right now I'll follow with this move as per the plan, and then look at how he responds. This is also a possible option for black as well, to just try to capture the edge. He might be hoping for black, white, black, and then in the future he has one more spare move to c7. But in such a situation, black, the danger of white, or the urgency of white needing to play d8 would be because black has this 2 disc to access d8 and force me to just jump into d8. So instead of just jumping into d8, an option would be to actually prevent that access and just cut on h6 and remove this 2 disc and make this 2 as white, so I control this mini diagonal access. And then maybe he might have to follow quite a poison move over here. Okay, so over here, he's chosen to jump into the center. In this case, it would mean that he is also hoping to capture this move next as well, because it gives him the center of the board. If I were to just jump right in and feed that unbalanced edge across, it might be good for me, because there is an urgency to respond over here. Instead of allowing black to just take a simple quiet move, I would just feed. If I were to go here, he would just jump in and create that favorable shape for himself, and then I'll be forced to play a move maybe to the right. So let's just go ahead and feed the unbalanced edge and see what happens. So if he does take the unbalanced edge, he would create this on the left-hand side, which would actually eventually poison his moves to the bottom, because the more edges you take, the more discs that you're more likely to flip as you progress throughout the game. I think this player is actually playing at quite a fast pace, so we are approaching the end game, which usually isn't my strength, so do have to think about it. So again, the top is a 5 square region that I cannot access nicely. I need to find that access back. So the control of the mini diagonal is an option that I've reserved, and also of course the x square that gives away the corner. If I were to play x square and he were to play this move right now, I wouldn't have access to either one of these c7 or d8 moves. So my preference might be to play h6 and just try to create some disc here. So even if he plays this move, I can still just jump back in, just cross back. But if I play this move first, I would then be actually effectively obstructing and poisoning this x square move that is actually quite useful for me in the future. So I do have to weigh these options carefully. So white and black gives somewhat of a dilemma for me, but white black, this is cleared out as a diagonal, so white black, maybe white is an option over here to just try to cut back an excess. Or white, and followed by black over here, I can still retain some excess over here. So now the problem is the parity to the top left. It is threatening white right now. So right now the option is here or here. So just trying to read deeper into the end game, I think I would actually go with h6 right now, just to retain that excess. Don't think the x square would work for me. So he's chosen this move, probably looking for me to feed the edge and provide access for him. Another option is I can just jump right in here and protect this mini diagonal, and maybe we can create something from there. So let's try that. So usually towards the end game, looking at quiet moves and excesses are very vital in terms of just trying to preserve as many moves as possible. If now this is sort of like a competitive square, he might be playing there. If I play here, he might just extend and just control this mini diagonal, which does not give me access to the corner. If I were to play a quiet move over here, it's an option, but this would then create quiet moves for him here, which is not a bad thing to actually resolve this 5 square, because if I play white here and black, then in the future, if he plays in here, I would just regain back parity in some sense. So let's just go ahead with this move and see what happens. So bearing in mind that I am controlling this mini diagonal, which is probably a double-edged sword. In general, it is good to control excesses, but right now it's a bit of a standstill because I'm actually losing parity. So let's go with this x square, which if he goes with the corner, I can just sandwich in between and basically still control this excess. But if he goes here, I would be forced to give up this excess. So white, black, white